Hello and welcome to Feed Donkey. Thank you for your interest in our application. You're here because you want to make a start on a Google Merchant Center feed. So we're going to walk you through this tutorial. This is in our help section, but let's dive into it. So this row across the top is you've got to give it a descriptive name. So this is simply what you'll see in your list of saved feeds. And then we can give it a file name as well. So that needs to not have spaces. And then these two boxes here, firstly, you can select the character delimiter. We're going to stick with tab and the file extension. The next thing we do is we can build a column. So you're presented with a couple of choices here. So we're going to build first off title. So this is the product title, and we're going to pick process data type. Now, within process, you've got a choice of either a static value or something that's pulled from within your saved store data. So I'm going to pull that out of our store data and product title, and we can give it a preview. This is a good thing to do as you go along. So we don't need to do anything else to that. And there's a couple of columns that meet this sort of method as well. So description. And again, this is just going out of store data at a product level. And you've got a couple of choices, HTML and a text-only version. We're going to pick the text only. The next one is link. And this is coming up with the store data, and there's a single field for this at products level that we're going to pick. We can preview that, check its URL, and the good thing to do as you go along is to save. It doesn't auto save as you go along, so every couple of columns that you build, give it a save. The next one is, you can see here, product type. So this is your store's definition of the product type. And that is a product level value. I think I went past that, yeah. The next one is condition. And we're just going to pass a static value in this instance of new. Next one is Google product category. So this is a more interesting one from a demonstrating some of the tools that you've got at your disposal. So in this instance, we're going to use map. Now, map isn't pulling store data. It's delivering values that you define based upon on rules that you set against store data. So, for example, here, this store, I'm gonna say we're gonna base it on the product type, as you said, and I'm gonna set a rule to say if the product type includes curtains, then we return this version from Google's product store tree. And we're also going to use a second value. So I added a second value, which has brought up that box there. And we've got a rule that we can set against that as well. So product type contains fabric. And that's the value there. The default value is what will be returned in the column should it not match either that condition or that condition. So let's go have a preview of what that looks like on that. So all of these, so you can see in the first place it's fabrics, and then there's some curtains afterwards. Okay, so we'll press on. The next header is barcode or global trade item number. So we're going to pull that out of the store, and this is actually at variance level, and we pick it there. Now you can see that it's there's some barcode data in there. Now I'm going to show you something that you can do to validate data. So I'm going to use regular expression extract. I'm going to write a very quick regular expression that says the match is on, it's got to be a number which is 13 characters long. So we're using EAN13. So that's actually matching. If there's anything else, if there's any values saved against products that didn't match that pattern, it wouldn't return anything against that product. So again, it's a way of cleaning your data, and a way of I can demonstrate how data transformations work. So the next one is price. Now, I know in this instance, then we're looking at the RRP price or compare at price. So we're going to pull that data element out of the store. That's at variance level. Compare at price. And so if we look at it in its original form there, those are the numbers that are against that product. But you can see the example that we're giving there. There's the value plus there's a currency code. So here we can have a look at how you build a composite column. So let's have a space in there, and we just need to put the currency code as a static value. Again, let's have a save of that. And the next one is sale price. So this is very similar. We're just using a different data element. This is variance price in this instance. And again, we're going to add that currency code. Okay, on to the next. So the next one is a simple one. We're just pulling this out of the store data. So I won't make too much of a fuss about this. So we're going to use variance skew. And the next one is image link, which is the main image of the product, and this is just saved as an element at product level. And sometimes the naming of these fields looks a little bit strange, but this is why you can use the column preview to make sure that the data that's going to be in that column looks right. So let's give it a quick save. Okay. The next one is color. Now you might have this saved against your products in different ways, but in this store's instance, it is saved in product metadata. So if we scroll down, you can see there's some custom elements and there's a fabric color. So check that. You see those are the colors that we can submit under that column. The next one is ID and group item group ID. So again, right. So ID is the unique reference of the product variant. So I'm going to pull that out of the store, but we do actually have to do something to this. So we look at variance level and it's variant GID. But if we look at how it is that it comes out of the store, it's not. It's got these characters, and we only really need the numbers at the right hand side of that particular value. So we're going to use another data transformation technique, and this you specify the number of characters, and in this instance it's 14, and that will pull out those numerical elements that you want. Item group ID is the unique reference at product level. So Google use this to see what variations are grouped under or nested under a single product. So again, we'll pull that GID out from the store, but this time at products level. Again, you see that there. Now I could use the same technique again with that I've used up there, but let's see. We can actually use regular expression to match a pattern. So again, I might not know how many numbers, and it might be some that those numbers vary in length. So let's just add a regular expression to just pull out the number elements. So that quantifier here just means one or more. So if we then run that, then it's pulling the number element out. So let's save that up. Okay, we're getting through it now. Okay, the next column is availability, so quite an important one to pass to ensure that you're only selling what you can fulfill. So we're going to use a map condition here, and we're going to say that variant inventory quantity must be greater than or equal to 1. And if that is the case, then we put in stock. Otherwise, it's out of stock. So we can preview that and have a look how it looks. Okay. Okay, there's a couple of ones here. Brand, and this is a simple one, just pulling out of the store. It's a product level element, and that's vendor, and okay, so we're going to move on to shipping here, because this is one of the mandatory fields. So there's a couple of things to consider here. We're going to use a map condition, and the thing to consider here is that we need to match the price of our the delivery cost for our item to how we're actually calculating it in our store. Now, in this example, I'm going to use a simple one of using the variant weight to determine what we pass as the value against this product. So here we go. So the variant weight must be less or equal to, and we've got this information as kilograms, and for that you need to pass a value of a country code. The next element there could be a service, a geographic location. The next one is a service, and then you need to pass the price as a value plus the currency code. So I'm going to say that that is a service that costs that amount. Now we've got variants which are heavier than that. So we go. And so I'll cover the rest of it by saying it's greater or equal to 2 kilograms. And for that, then we will pass a value of what that shipping cost will cost. I'm going to put a default in. I mean, it should have logically covered everything, but just in case, I'll put a default value in. Now, that is a very simple example, and it is sort of assuming that the shipping cost is the same if you're shipping to anywhere in the UK, which may not be the case, and probably isn't the case. So you can use the second part of this of the value that you pass to Google to define a geographic area, and this would be in your Merchant Center account or PPC account. And we can see how we can use this in another column as well. Now, if there's a different part of the UK that you or a different part of your country where you ship to, then you can actually add another column that again has the same label of shipping. So say we want to define a different cost for a different area of the UK. So again, we're going to create a map condition, and I'm going to replicate this. So the variance weight is less or equal to 199, and I'm going to define a different geographic area here with a different cost. So I could put that as, just for illustration purposes, and I'm going to increase that price. And again, we need to add another value. And again, we're going to use those rules. We're going to cover the higher weight items. So I'm going to say that's the shipping cost there. So there you go. You've got an example of how you would pass your shipping costs for different geographic areas. Now you can actually have up to 100 of those columns, and probably not a lot of people will define it that in that granular fashion, but that's just an example of how you could configure that within the application. Okay, so let's move on. Now, another way, another thing that you have at your disposal with building a feed is controlling the product records within the feed. So here, this is an example of using an exclusion for where a product is discontinued, which is probably a fairly common want. So we'll use it as a variance level, and we've actually got a flag in our metadata, and I know that if that equals 2, that means the product is discontinued. Now, you can actually use something to check these exclusions. So this element of record count there is something that you can use, that once you've applied an exclusion, you can see what effect that has on the product numbers within your feed. So yeah, I mean, this is what you've got as a feed. You've got you can check that by downloading the data, and so that will give you an idea. But I hope you found this useful. Thanks for your time.